Welcome and thank you for standing by. Currently, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Today's webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now I'd like to turn the call over to your host for today, Lacey Lofton.
Hello, everybody. As Lisa said, my name is Lacey Lofton, and I am a data dissemination specialist here at the U.S. Census Bureau. Thank you all for joining us today for this All in the Tools webinar series. This is a new series, actually, that the Census Academy team at the Census Bureau created. You can register for other workshops, probably just like you registered for this one, by going to census.gov. We post all of the workshops monthly, so you can register early. The actual specific website is census.gov/academy. It is first come, first served, so keeping an eye on our website and making sure you sign up as quickly as possible is a great best practice. We think that these hands-on exercises and workshops are a really valuable opportunity for you to learn from our experts like Tim today, who will be talking about our API. It's a great way for you to learn more about the tools and resources that we have on our website. If you want to follow along that same line, please go ahead and open another browser on your computer. Chrome is usually your best shot for a lot of the tools that we have. So go ahead and open another browser and you can follow along with the activities and some of the things that Tim will be talking about today. Before I introduce our speaker, I want to go over a couple housekeeping rules. As mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded, so if you have any objection, you can disconnect now. But the good news is for your convenience, the recording will be uploaded on our Census Academy site with all of the other supplemental materials. So we'll have the transcript, we'll have the PowerPoint, and you can expect that within about 30 business days. In terms of how to ask questions during this workshop, you can submit your questions through the QA panel, which depending on your settings will either be at the bottom center or the bottom right side of your WebEx screen. Take a second to look for that now. That's going to be your best way to communicate with us. Once you've found that panel, make sure when you send us a question that you're sending it to all panelists. That just ensures that one of us will actually get to see it, and just make sure that you're not sending your question to just a specific individual. We make sure that you don't include any personal or business identifiable information with your questions. Again, this is public and it's being recorded, so we want to keep all of your personal information confidential. Definitely keep your chat panel open also. This is where we're going to be sending you links that are related to the workshop, our links for evaluation and other resources. So keep an eye on that, but you won't be able to respond within that chat. The only way that we'll be able to do that two-way communication is with the Q&A. We'll also be sharing our evaluation for this webinar. Please take some time to fill that out. We really do want to know how you feel we're doing. My colleagues Sam, Misty, and Judy are all joining us here today as well, and they will be monitoring that Q&A panel. As time allows, they're going to be answering your questions live in real time directly through that panel. Or if we're getting the same question multiple times, they may ask Tim directly so that we can clarify for the entire group. If we don't get to a response for one of your questions during this webinar, we will make sure that we follow up with you, and then all of the questions and answers will be posted again in 30 days on census.gov/academy. As mentioned before, near the end of this webinar, we'll put into the chat the link for the evaluation so you can tell us how you did. We really do want to know. It'll populate as you exit the webinar and take you to a separate screen to complete the survey. As you know, we are in a virtual environment. Hopefully we won't have any issues, but sometimes we will run into technical difficulties. If you are currently having issues, please try a different browser. Again, Chrome works really well usually, or consider logging out and then trying to log back in. If you're having audio issues, try selecting computer audio or calling into the webinar via phone. Okay, without any further delay, I would like to introduce our speaker today, Tim Sarko. Thank you for being here today, and Tim, you may begin.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to talk about the Census Bureau's application programming interface. Just a few things about me. I've been employed by the Census Bureau for over 28 years. I initially served as a supervisory survey statistician in 1995. Currently, as a data dissemination specialist, I promote the use of census data to anyone with an interest or need to work with this valuable information, including community organizations, municipal officials, chambers of commerce, librarians, students, and entrepreneurs. I'm available for future complimentary presentations and hands-on data workshops upon request. These are our objectives for today. I'm going to talk about the American Community Survey basics, basically because all the API examples that I'm going to do are concerned the ACS. Find available data sets in the application programming interface. Edit a sample URL to access the data you need. View results in your web browser, and then save those results as a .csv file and format it to a readable format. So here's our outline for today. Like I said, I'm going to talk about the American Community Survey basics, and then the Census API basics, and building an API request. Then I'm going to do some API demos, and then I'm going to let you do your own some API exercises that we'll go over, and then some resources for learning more, and then any kind of questions that you may have. So the American Community Survey, it's the nation's most current, reliable, and accessible data source for local statistics on critical planning topics such as age, children, veterans, commuting, education, income, and employment. It does survey 3.5 million addresses, and it's responsible for over $675 billion of federal government spending each year. It covers over 40 topics. It supports over 300 evidence-based federal government uses, and it produces 11 billion estimates each year. And it's important to know that the ACS, it's released twice a year as 1-year estimates. Those are for populations of 65,000 or more, and as 5-year estimates, basically for every geography. These are the data topics for the ACS, broken down by social, demographic, economic, and housing. So you can see, for example, if you look at the topics, you can what languages do people speak at home, for example, or how many people have a bachelor's degree or higher in your city or town? How many veterans are there? And then if you look at like economic, you can get this thing is who has health insurance? What's median household income like? What industries, what occupations do people work in? And then we have any number of housing data topics as well, such as how old are the homes? What's the median home value in your city, your town? How many people own or rent their homes? As I said, the ACS is released as 1-year and 5-year estimates. The 1-year estimates are, of course, 12 months of collected data, whereas the 5-year are 60 months of collected data. The 1-year are for populations of 65,000 or more, and the 5-year are for all geographies down to the block group level, basically the sub-neighborhood level. The 1-year has a smaller sample size, so it's less reliable. And the 5-year has a larger sample size. There's more data going into it, so it's most reliable. The 1-year is more current, whereas the 5-year is less current. So the 1-year is best used when current data are more important or for analyzing large populations. The 5-year are best used when precise data are more important or for analyzing small populations. And so a lot of times you don't have a choice based on, if you're looking at census tracts, for example, or smaller counties, then you pretty much have to use the 5-year. Here's our geographic hierarchy. It goes from the nation all the way down to the block. The American Community Survey data is available at the block group, down to the block group level. At the block level, it's just 2020 census data. So if you think of a block in your neighborhood, that's kind of indicative of a block, a census block. And if you put 2, 3, 4 or so census blocks together, you get a block group. And similarly, if you put like 2, 3, 4 or so block groups together, you get a census tract, make up a census tract. And a census tract has an optimum of about 4,000 in population. So you can easily get any of those data items that I showed you, say for all counties in the United States, or all zip code tabulation areas in the United States, or all census tracts in your state. Here's the American Community Survey data tables. And these, it's very important that you know the difference between the tables when you're working with the API. And we have detailed tables, they begin with a B or C. We have subject tables, they begin with an S. Then you have the data profiles, which begin with a DP. And you have comparison profiles, they begin with CP. And then you have selected population population profiles. And just to show you real quick, I'll go to census.gov. I'll go to the ACS website. And here you can see it has the different tables. And as I mentioned, the data profiles. Data profiles, they're a good place to start for novice users. They have the most frequently requested social, economic, housing, and demographic data. And there's basically 4 data profiles. They're very big. And then you've got your detailed tables. Those are the most detailed estimates on all data topics for all geographies. And then you've got subject tables as well. They present a different subject in both estimates and percentages. So here I have a data profile versus a detailed table. On the left-hand side, you see DPO4 selected housing characteristics data profile. This is just a very small part of the table. In this particular table, I'm showing home values along with the median home value. So if I was looking at that data profile and I wanted to dig deeper maybe into the home values, I could pull a detailed table as you see on the right, median value by year structure built. And notice that these data profiles, along with the subject tables, they have numbers and percentages in them. The detailed tables only have numbers. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about Census API basics. The Census Data API, it's a service that allows software developers and other users to access public data in a standardized way. The uses, it supports mobile and web applications, both internal and external. It drives interactive data visualizations, and you can easily connect to statistical analysis software like SAS and R. The advantages of the API, you can easily download target variables and geographies, and you get immediate access to the most current data, and there's no need to host data on another server. And there's more data than what's available on our main data tool, data.census.gov. These are the census programs that are in the API. So you can see on the demographic programs, we have the American Community Survey, Decennial Census, we have health insurance statistics, APIs, international database, population estimates, poverty statistics from different surveys and programs. And then we have any number of economic business programs, such as the annual survey of entrepreneurs, annual survey of manufacturers, business dynamic statistics, county business patterns, non-employer statistics. We have the economic census, international trade, quarterly workforce indicators, and the survey of business owners. We also have the census planning database in the API as well. So you can see there's any number of census programs, surveys in the API. Here's the developers page. So what you do is you would go from data and maps and you would click on developers and you go to the developers page. On the developers page, you can request a key. There's no charge to request a key. And you can actually make up 500 API queries per IP address without a key. So it's normally not a problem. But unless your company, corporation is using the same IP address and there's a lot of people working on using the API, then you might want to request a key. You can also browse in the middle here with a circle. You can also browse the discovery tool page. The discovery tool has a list of several hundred data sets. It gives you descriptions, variables, geographies, and examples, and more. You can review updates as well. You can share your experiences in the developers forum also. Here I went into the discovery tool, and you have the different data sets here circled in red. You get on the discovery tool, you get data sets descriptions, variable labels and attributes, supported geographies, sample calls, and then you get links to technical documentation. So you can see here, I have the American Community 5-year detailed tables here, 2019. You can look at the geographies, you can look at any of the variables and different things, and then you can get examples of API calls that you could easily use, paste them into another browser. So now I'm going to talk about building an API request. Here's a screenshot from our main data tool, data.census.gov. It's of table B25077, median value. It shows the median value for all states in the United States, median home value. It is both the estimates, as you can see, and the margins of error. And we'll want to include both of these in our API call. The table ID of B25077 will be an important part of our API call. When we build our API call, it'll look like what's in red here. And on the right side is the output in a JSON format. That's just a machine readable language. It allows web applications to easily be able to input this data. Excuse me. So now we're going to look at the anatomy of the API call. We're going to use the API call that I just showed you, that we just looked at, and we'll look at the different parts so it's easier to understand. We're going to start with the base for all API calls. The link in red of https://api.census.gov/data/ is the base that's part of every API call. Next, you add the year and the data set. For this API call, I'm using the 2021 as the year and the American Community 5-year estimates for detailed tables. So you see I have 2021 ACS 5. So that's 5-year ACS detailed table. You can make API calls for other ACS tables. For example, here's the API call for the ACS 5-year subject table. It's the same as the previous call, but it includes the word subject in it. Next, you add $get equals to your call. All API calls will include ? get equals. That's used to start your variable request. Next, you add your variables. Here, I've added the variables B25077 underscore 001E, which is the ACS estimate for median home value, and B25077 underscore 001M, which is the margin of error. The 001 included in the variable name just indicates that it's from row 1 of the B25077 table. And as we saw, that table only had one row. The variable name provides the geographic name you're using to limit your search. You can enter up to 50 variables in the same API call, separated by making sure they're separated by commas. Finally, you add your geography. Here we added and4 equals state : asterisk. The asterisk is simply a wildcard, which indicates we want this call to include all states. You can also do a call just to include specific geographies in your API call. Here's the exact same API call, but this call is just for Alabama, Colorado, and Indiana, as indicated by the 01, 08, and 18, the state codes. And I'll show you how to get those in a few minutes. And you want to make sure they're separated by commas, just as is the variables. There's an API call, which I just showed you for certain variables. And we also have an API call for an entire table. So the call I just showed you is the top one there. And that's for those two variables, B25077, 001E, and B25077 underscore 001M. As I said, you can include up to 50 variables in the same API call, making sure they're separated by commas. The next call there, the one with the group, that's the example of a call for the entire table for all states. The group function allows you to get the results for an entire table in one API call. So the big difference between the two calls is I just have comma, group, and then parentheses, the table ID. And so that's the call for the entire table. Now I'd like to do an API demo to kind of tie this all together. The first demo I'm going to do is what percent of the US population is Hispanic or Latino? And I'll start this from the very beginning and from census.gov, and you're encouraged, I'll go through it kind of slowly so you could follow along. If you have your computer open and ready, you can follow along. So from census.gov, our homepage, you go to data and maps, and then select developers. Then once on the developer page, you could open up the discovery tool, which is here in blue. So go ahead and open the discovery tool. So once in the discovery tool, you kind of scroll down, and then you've got your data sets. You've got 3. You want to use the one with .html, the first one. So go ahead and click on the HTML data set here, and that'll take you to all the data sets. So you can see I'm in the data sets now, and they're in basically year order, and they're all the different census programs, surveys, decennial census. As you can see, there's current population survey, county business patterns, decennial census. So what you're going to do is when you're on the dataset page, we're going to go to the most recent ACS. So the most recent American Community Survey data would be the 2021. So I'm going to scroll down and find the year 2021. Oops. So here I'm seeing the American Community Survey 2021, and I want the percentage of Hispanic Latino in the United States. So I know that would be available in the data profile. So I could either use the 1 year or the 5-year ACS. Since I have the 1 year right here, I'm going to use the American Community Survey 1-year data profiles. So that's what I want. So once everybody finds that, then you go to, the first thing you do is you go to examples. So from when you go to examples, you'll see that here are all the sample API calls for all different geography levels. So for instance, if I wanted for all United States, I could either use either of these first two calls. They're both the same. If I wanted all counties in the United States, I would use this one with an asterisk for county. If I wanted specific counties, wanted all counties in a state, I could put a state code in this call, and I would get all counties in whatever state I want. If I wanted a specific county, I could put the county code in the state code. And one thing I did, you can click on any of these calls as well. Like if I wanted to know what the state codes were, I'll click on the state with the asterisk. And then I could see, for instance, California is 06, Delaware is 10. Likewise, I could do that with the county codes as well. So to get I know I need to call for the United States. So I'm just going to copy this second call here. So hold your mouse down and copy the call. And then right click, and then you choose copy. And then I'm going to go ahead and open a new browser. And I'm going to paste that call into the browser. So here I pasted the call. So the first thing I do once I paste it is I take off and your key goes here. I don't need that. So I delete it. So now I've got this, my geography on this call is good. I got what I want, but I need to put my variable for percent of Hispanic Latino in it. It already has a variable in it by default, which I don't necessarily want. That's for selected social characteristics table, and it's basically just the population. So what I do next is I go back to the API, go back to the data set. So I'm going to navigate back. I'm going to go back one screen back to the data set. And this time I'm going to go into variables because I want to find that variable that for Hispanic Latino. So I'm going to open up variables. And then as you can see, there's an awful lot. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of variables. One of the easier things to do is you can press Control F simultaneously, Control and F, to find what you're looking for. A little bit easier. So if I type in Hispanic or Latino, it takes me to Hispanic and Latino variables here. Which one I want is Hispanic, Latino of any race, but I want E is for estimate. That's just a number. PE is for the percent. So I know I want PE. I want the percent of Hispanic or Latino. So I'm going to copy that variable. And I'm going to go back to where I pasted that API call. And I'm going to drop that variable in right after the comma in name. So now I've got that variable in my call. I want to delete the variable that was already there. So I'm just going to delete that variable. And then you simply just run the call. So you just press enter. And you can see that there's 18.8% of the United States are Hispanic Latino. So that's that one. The next one I want to show you is what is the median household income and poverty rate for all counties in California. I chose this one because it's multiple variables, it's more than one, and it's for multiple geographies. So again, to do this, I'm going to go to Data and Maps, Developers. Takes it a minute. And then I'm going to go to the Discovery tool. And I'm going to choose the first one here, the first data set. And then I'm going to scroll down to the most recent ACS again. And you can use either the 1 year or the 5 year. The 5 year will be more precise, whereas the 1 year will be more current. So I'm going to use, in this case, I'm going to use the American Community Survey 5-year data profiles. So like I said before, the first thing you do is go to examples. So I know I said I want all counties in California. So I'm going to go down to county. Since I want all counties in a state, I'm going to do this middle call here, the one with the asterisk for county, the wild card. And there's a wild card for state, but I can always change that. So I'm going to copy that middle call for county. And I'm going to paste it into a new browser. So like I said before, the first thing you want to do is take off and your key goes here. Then you're probably wondering, what is a state code for California? Again, you could go and click on this one with the asterisks and you'll see the state code for California is 06. So I'm going to take off that asterisk, the wild card, because this one right now, if I ran it, it's for every county in all states. I'm going to put 06 for the state code. So now I've got my geography is set. And you noted before that the one we did previously already had a variable in there. This one does not. Some of the calls will have a variable by default already in there, which you'll have to delete. Some will not. Will just have that name variable that shows you the geography. So this one does not have anything in it. So I'm not worried about deleting anything. So I'm going to go back, and I need to find that variable, both those variables for median household income and poverty. So I'm going to navigate back all the way to the data sets. So here I am back at the data profile. And this time I'm going to look in variables. Again, you can do the Control F. And this time I'll type in median household income. So if I just type in median household, it comes up, and we see that we have this DPO 30062E is median income, and 62PE is also median income. And it's an estimate and a percent. Median income is median income, so it's not going to be different. So I'm just going to copy this DPO 30062E, and I'm going to go back to my call, and right after name, I'm going to put a comma, separate that variable from this, and I'm going to paste the median household income variable in. So now I've got median household income in my call, but I also need poverty. So I'm going to go back to the variables, and this time I'm going to look for poverty. So I'm in, here's poverty now, but that's not what I want. I want all people in poverty. So here I see I've got families and people, all people in poverty. In this case, I want to choose the PE one just because I want the percent of all people in poverty, not the number of people in poverty. So I'm going to choose DPO3 underscore 0128 PE. And I'm going to copy that call. I'm going to copy that variable. Go back to my API call, and I'm going to put a comma after the DPO 30062E, and I'm going to paste that into the call. So now, if you look at the call, I have my variables that I want, and I have my geography I want. So it's all set. Now I can go ahead and run the call. So here you see the results of that API call. And what you can do, well, if you look at it, you got like Alameda County, California has $112,017 median household income, 8.9% poverty, and then you've got the state and the county code. So what you can do with this is, if you want to download it, you right-click on the screen and you choose Save As. And then simply rename, just give it any name you want. I just put API test. But after the name, put CSV.csv. And then change the save as type from JSON file to all files, and then click Save. Here I'll open the Excel file. And as you can see, it's a little bit messy with these characters in here. So you could highlight the whole table, and you can go over to the Find and Select and use the Replace function. And then you could pick out one of the characters. So for instance, the bracket, leave the replace with blank, and then say replace all. So I got rid of all those right brackets. Then if I wanted to get the quotes, simply type the quote in there, replace all. Then I want the left-hand bracket, the other one, replace all. So I've cleaned it up. One thing that the API does, I don't want to say all the time, but a lot of the times, it moves these variables. See, the name should really be over here. Counties should be here. County is here. State is here. So it shifted the headings over. So no, you could just cut, move it over one, and now it's in the right. And you can always go and rename your headings. I put it, and I don't really need to know state and county because I already have that. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And then one thing you can do, and it's not necessarily if you don't need the see, I know Alameda County, I can get rid of column B if I want, because I know these are all in California. But if I had different states, or I wanted to clean it up even further, I could put a I can insert a column, and I could tell it, you could use a concat function, but you can also join these columns if you want by using, I'm just going to type in equals A2 and quotes. And then I want a comma to separate the Alameda and California. And I'm going to close the quotes, and then you put it in, and then click on B2. So basically, I'm just telling it, I want these two columns joined into one column. So now you see that, now I've got that all in one column. You could always copy and paste that down as well. Just a way of cleaning it up, making it, however you want it. And you could also change the income into currency. And then you could delete the California columns. So that's how you download and clean up the API results. So included here, I have it. This will be posted. Here's the this was the first one I did. What percent of the U.S. population is Hispanic or Latino? This is a step-by-step instruction from the very beginning on how to get that, how to do that call. It's 2 pages. Okay, so now I would like to give you an opportunity to do your own API exercises to see if you can come up with the API call to get the answer to the question. And I'll give you some time to do it on your own. So the question is, what percent of the US population has a bachelor's degree or higher? And I'll give you a hint. You want to use the data profile DPO2, selected social characteristics. It doesn't matter if you use the 1 year or the 5 year. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a few minutes to get started doing that, and then I'll show you how to do that. So those of you who are actually doing this, I'm going to show you the answers. So you're either going to come up with 35% of the United States has a bachelor's degree or higher if you use the ACS 1 year, or you're going to come up with 33.7% have a bachelor's degree or higher if you use the ACS 5 year. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that call. So here I'm back in the data sets. I went through the discovery tool and I'm into the data sets. I know I want the most recent ACS, so I'm going to scroll down to the 2021 ACS. And I'll use the 1 year. So here I have the 1 year data profiles. So the first thing I say to do is to go to examples to get the sample call. So I wanted it for the United States. So like I said, either one of these calls for the US is okay to use. So I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste the call into a new browser. Take off and your key goes here. And here's a call with a variable already in it, which I don't need. But like I said, sometimes they don't have the variable already in it. So I'm going to go back, navigate back to the data profile data set, and I'm going to choose variables because I want to find bachelor's degree or higher variable. So I'm going to choose variables. And again, you could do the Control F if you wanted to get it quicker. So I'm going to look for bachelor's degree education, bachelor's degree or higher. So here I see bachelor's degree or higher. That's what I want, but I don't want the number. I want the percent. So I'm going to use the PE variable. So I'm going to copy that. Go back to my call, and I'm going to paste it in after the comma, after name. Delete the variable that was previously there. And then everything looks good. I got the variable I want. I got the geography I want. So I'm going to go ahead and run the call. So you can see that there's 35% according to the ACS 1 year, 35% of Americans have a bachelor's degree or higher. So those of you that were following along or doing that, I hope you were able to get that. So another exercise, a little bit harder, is which state has a higher median household income, Maryland or Hawaii? So in this case, you can use either the data profile or a detailed table. There is a detailed table for median household income. And to get the state codes, as I showed you before, just click on the state, the API call for all states with the wildcard, and it'll give you the state codes. So you'll figure out which one's Maryland, which one's Hawaii. So I'll give you a few minutes to do that one. And just as I did last time, I will put the answer. As you can see, Maryland has a higher median household income than Hawaii by roughly 6,000 if you use the 1 year, and by roughly 3,000 if you use the ACS 5 year. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that API call. So here I am at the data sets. I went through the discovery tool. I'm at the data sets. I'm going to go down to the 2021 ACS. Right about here. So this time, instead of using the data profile, which is perfectly fine, I'm going to use the 1 year detailed tables because I know there's a detailed table for median household income. So either one's correct, and either the same procedure for either one you choose. So I'm going to go through examples first, and then since I want Maryland and Hawaii, I'm going to use state. So I see this middle call has state 06 in it, which we know is California already. So I'm going to copy that middle call because I could take that 06 out and put my state codes in. So I'm going to copy that call. I'm going to open a new browser and paste that call in. Like I said, in every one we've done, you take off and your key goes here. First thing you want to do. This call already has a variable for population, basically, in it. We'll have to take that out. But the first thing I want to do is I want to put my state codes in. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to navigate back, or just to the samples. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this one with the state asterisk in it. And I'm going to click on that. And I can see Hawaii is 15 and Maryland is 24. So I know I need 15 and 24 in my call. So I'm going to go back to the API call and I'm going to get rid of the 6. I'm going to put 15, 24. So making sure, just as you do with variables, if you're putting states, counties, you want to put a comma to separate them. And now my geography is set. I have it for Maryland and Hawaii. Now I need my variable for median household income. So what I'm going to do is go back, navigate back to the data set. In this case, I was using the detailed table, and I'm going to look for variables. And again, you could scroll down this table and ultimately find it, but it's probably easier to do the Control F. And I'm going to type in median household income. So I see it went to B19013 underscore 001E, median household income. You don't want these other ones because these are for the A and the B. The A is for white alone householder. The B is for Black or African American alone householder. So I just want it for everyone. So I'm going to do B19013 underscore 001E. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to paste that variable into my call. And then delete the variable that was there. And I should be good to go. I see I have my variable in it. I have my state codes. So I go ahead and run the call. And you can see the results. Maryland has a 90,203 median household income, and Hawaii has 84,857. So, like I said before, it'll be different if you were using the 5-year or the 1-year. So hopefully everybody was doing that, was able to at least follow along and come up with those answers. Now I'd like to talk about resources for learning more. The API, the benefits of the API, it would get the exact variables and geographies that you need. You can easily update API calls to get the data across years. Most of the variables are consistent from year to year. So you can simply change the year in the call, get variables from different years. The API has more historical data than our main data tool, data.census.gov. Actually, pre-2010, American Community Survey estimates are not in our main data tool. They're only in the FTP and the API. There are some limitations of the API. You can only do one geographic summary level at a time. And we don't have all the collections of geography that are available, such as all census tracts in the United States. You can get data in bulk on data.census.gov, or you can use the FTP sites. As I just said, you can update the date in your call to get data from different years, or if you want it over time. But you just got to be aware that sometimes there are changes. If you look at this top call here, this one, they're both for average household size. But this one's 2018 and this one's 2019. In 2018, the average household size was DPO2 0015E. In 2019, the average household size changed to DPO2 0016E. Basically, what's going on there is some of those tables, especially like data profiles, they will change something in any given year. They'll put a new variable in, it'll push the variables down, which is likely what happened in this case. So the variable moved down one from 15 to 16. And a lot of times, if you're changing the date and you get some weird or strange number that's not consistent, then you'll know. But it's good to check on the variable list. This is our data dissemination and training. We have census.gov Academy. You can bring our data experts to you. You can request a free data training for your organization. You can also receive our data gems. These are short how-to videos. They're easy, quick way to increase your knowledge of the census data, and you can get them in your inbox. You can get access to our courses. You can learn at your own pace with these video tutorials designed for different skill levels. You can also interact with our instructors via webinars. You can learn about data releases and tools while attending these live virtual classes. And we also you can contact us on census.askdata@census.gov or 1-844-ASK-DATA. And there's my contact name. And as I said, there's Ask Data, and you can subscribe to census.gov/academy. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Let's circle back with our Q&A team. Were there any questions that you guys had over Sam, Misty, Judy? Was there anything that you want to ask Tim for the whole group?
Yes, Tim, I would like to, unless Misty would like to go first.
Go for it, Sam.
Okay, great. So a few questions from the Q&A that I'd like to ask on their behalf. Is there any information material for how to incorporate this into SAS or the R computer platform?
I believe that in the developers forum, there's information about that. I'm not sure, but you can check on the developers page. There's how-to materials, and there's a user's guide that may have that in there.
Okay, terrific. Also, Elena asked, is there a call for the smallest available grouping? She'd like block information when possible, but could use larger groupings where the only option is to find languages spoken at home.
So you would like to find smaller geographies like blocks? Is that what the question was?
It is.
Not for ACS, but you'd have to, if you're using Decennial Census API, you should be able to go down to the block level. And that's just basic population numbers. Because API or ACS only goes down to the block group level. So you can go actually down to the block group level using the API for ACS. But Decennial is the one that you would have to use for the block level.
Terrific, thank you. And just a couple more. Rob asked, does place refer to a FIPS code, or what order of magnitude is it presented? Census tract?
Place?
Yes.
Yeah, place refers to, it will have a FIPS code. Again, you can click on the call. If there's one for all places in there, you can click on the call. It would have all the codes for places. There is what I do if I ever wanted to use place. You can go on census.gov in the bar on top where you search. You could type in FIPS, and that'll pull up spreadsheets. And I just use the most recent one, like I think it's 2018. I go into there and it'll give me, it's broken down by every state. It'll give you every, down to the place, county, place, all the FIPS codes that you'll need to, if you want to put in this for a place.
Terrific. And the last question is a combo question from Keith and Luke. Can you get the API results in anything other than JSON format? And are there any tools with the API that can automatically apply header names according to the data dictionary?
I didn't hear the second part of that.
Are there any tools with the API that can automatically apply header names according to the data dictionary?
And apply what? Other
Apply header names according to
header names?
Header, like the header, the top.
Oh, header.
Yeah, header.
You're just going to get the variable names at the top. I mean, there's a way you can go back into the variables and copy and paste the headers.
Right.
The headers in. As far as the JSON format, I'm not exactly positive of that one. I'd have to check on that.
Okay, thank you.
And get back
Those
to
are the
you.
questions that I had.
Yeah, Misty or Judy, did you have any other questions?
Oh, that was it.
Okay,
you hear me?
awesome. Yes, now we can. Go ahead. Okay, going once. Okay, going twice. Okay, well, thank you so much, Tim. This was an excellent webinar. For all of you who are still with us, you can see Tim's contact information there if you think of something later when you're working with the API, or if a question didn't come to you during the presentation, but you still have follow-up questions, you can reach out directly to him. If you did put a question in the Q&A and we didn't have a chance to get to it during the webinar, rest assured we will. There were a lot of really good questions coming in, and some of them are really specific. So we might be responding to those after the fact, and we'll make sure to update the documents that we're going to post on Census Academy in the next 30 days with all of the answers to all of the questions that you asked. Please take a moment to fill out the evaluation. I saw that come back up in the chat, so you can let us know how we did, where we could change, and where we can improve. And again, in 30 days, we'll have the PowerPoint, the transcript, and all the questions at census.gov/academy. So with that, it brings us to a close. Thank you again so much, and I hope everyone has a great afternoon.